In the deep embrace of the night, the harbor whispered its silent, ominous tales to the restless sea. I stood at the edge of the dock, the cold air biting at my skin, heart racing with an inexplicable sense of dread. The moon, a mere sliver, was shrouded by clouds, casting a faint, ghostly glow on the colossal shipping containers that towered around me like silent sentinels. I strained to remember how I ended up in this desolate place. My last clear memory was leaving the bar, the night still brimming with life, laughter echoing in the streets. Then a haze of fragmented images, walking down unfamiliar lanes, a sudden sharp headache, and then nothing until this moment, standing alone in the eerie silence of the harbor. Occasionally, the distant call of a ship's horn pierced the stillness, sending shivers down my spine. I looked around, hoping to spot someone, anyone, but the dock was deserted, save for the looming containers and the occasional scurry of a rat. Compelled by an unknown force, I wandered towards one of the containers. Its door was slightly ajar, as if inviting me into its dark maw. As I stepped inside, curiosity overpowering my fear, the door slammed shut behind me. Total darkness enveloped me, a darkness so thick it felt like a tangible force pressing down on my chest. The container lurched violently, jolting me to the ground. I realized with horror that we were moving. Trapped and disoriented, I felt the container being lifted, swayed, and then set down with a thud. The only sounds were the creaking of the container walls and the distant, muffled churn of the ship's engine. Time lost its meaning in that pitch-black prison, and I drifted in and out of a restless sleep plagued by nightmares. When the doors finally creaked open, blinding light flooded in. My eyes, accustomed to the darkness, struggled to adjust. Before me stood a group of people cloaked in dark robes, their faces obscured by hoods. They encircled me, chanting in a language that sounded ancient and unfamiliar. The air was thick with the scent of incense and something else, something metallic and unsettling. In the center of the container lay an intricate maze-like symbol painted on the floor. It seemed to shift and change under the flickering candlelight, drawing my gaze into its complex patterns. The cultist chants grew louder, more fervent, their movements ritualistic and synchronized. Fear gripped me as they began to close in. Their eyes, the only part of their faces visible, shone with fanaticism. I felt a cold hand grasp my shoulder, and a voice, guttural and commanding, spoke a phrase that sent chills down my spine, though I couldn't understand the words. In a desperate bid for freedom, I shoved the nearest cultist away and made a run for it. My sudden movement knocked over a lantern, and in seconds the container was ablaze. Flames leaped up, casting demonic shadows on the walls. The cult members scattered, their chants turning into cries of panic. I darted through the chaos, my heart pounding in my ears. The heat was intense, the smoke choking, but the fear of what the cult might do if they caught me pushed me forward. I found a small opening and squeezed through, tumbling out into the unknown. I emerged into a desolate landscape, the early light of dawn painting the sky in shades of orange and blue. The terrain was barren, with sparse, dry vegetation and distant mountains barely visible on the horizon. I was far from the harbor, in a land I did not recognize. Exhausted, bewildered, and still shaken, I looked around. The harrowing events of the night felt surreal, like a nightmare I had just awoken from. Yet the lingering scent of smoke on my clothes and the distant echo of the cult's chants in my mind were stark reminders of the terrifying reality I had just escaped. As I walked away from the container, now just a speck in the distance, I realized the harbor's secret would remain hidden, its horrors lurking in the shadows, waiting for the next lost soul to stumble upon them.